Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm pleased to be here today and begin the focus of this committee for FAA reauthorization on the certification process. 28 years on this committee, and I've seen a lot of changes. One, I'd just like to recall, because it points to the balance in the certification process, and that is, when I was early on the committee, I always thought that the old rules, basically going back to the CAB days where the FAA was charged with both promoting and regulating the industry in the interests of public safety, were in conflict, and I was assured time and time again they weren't. In fact, in the 1996 FAA reauthorization, my amendment to strip them of the promotional authority was defeated. A little later that year, ValueJet went down. And we found that because this was essentially a lack of oversight and accountability with a contractor to a subcontractor, that people had died. And oddly enough, in those days we followed the rules, but somehow they found, even though my amendment had been defeated and was in neither the Senate nor the House bill, I got a call saying, where can we put it in the bill? And we put it in the bill, and we stripped virtually all of the promotional rules and regulations pertaining to the FAA from the bill, to make it clear that they are an agency that regulates in the interests of the public and public safety. And that brings us here today. Certification. It's critical. We have been, as the Chairman said, and should and hope to continue to be the gold standard in terms of safety in the industry. We have been the world leader in terms of innovation. And we need to balance these things as well and as best as we can. I have very little patience for repetitive work, bureaucracy. We need a system that's risk-based. It sets proper prioritization, but it has to also be robust and faultless. And I don't think we're quite at that point on either side. I'm going to ask unanimous consent to put in the record, and I would actually recommend it to members because of the testimony. I read all of it today. It's the most meaningful. It's from PASS, and they talk about problems with staffing. We can't pretend that we don't need to oversee the process even when we delegate, but more and more that's becoming the virtual reality. On the other hand, we can certainly do better on the agency level in terms of not going through repetitive processes. Again, just ancient history, and I'm sure this doesn't go on anymore, but many years ago I was visiting a manufacturer who made the film that goes inside the hull, essentially the wallpaper in the airplane, and they had passed flammability standards, and I said, that's great, and they said, yeah, but we have to do it for every type. I said, what do you mean for every type? And they said, well, like 737-200, 737-300, 737-400, I said, it's all the same hull, it's all the same interior, it's all the same flammability standard. They said, yeah, no, but that's not the way the FAA does it. I hope that doesn't go on today. That's nonsensical. We need to focus on new technologies. We need to focus on things that aren't repetitive, things that are risk-based, that promote real, potential threats to the integrity and the airworthiness of our aircraft. I also noted in the testimony, and I'll get into it with GAO, that I believe that there are some barriers being artificially created by our friends in the EU and elsewhere, where they use their processes to disadvantage American manufacturers and advantage their own, or in the case of the Chinese, where they basically ask you to give them every single technical detail and proprietary bit of information on how something was produced, but don't worry, they won't copy it before they'll certify it. And I don't believe that the FAA has pushed back hard enough against some of these other foreign civil aviation authorities in the EU and elsewhere to give us a level playing field, and that's something else that warrants examining. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. DeFazio. And with that, I want to introduce our two witnesses today.